She was human, fragile, defiant, and burning with secrets. He was the alpha of the Dark Moon Pack, cold, ruthless, born to destroy her. But when hatred ignites something far deeper, destiny rewrites their fate. This is the Alpha's mortal enemy, a werewolf romance audiobook, Enemies to Lovers, Dark Fantasy, by JKWrites.
Sierra's point of view.
The night always felt heavier on the edge of Portland, Oregon. The trees here don't just stand, they watch. My sneakers crush through wet leaves as I take the shortcut home through the old logging road, hood pulled tight against the wind. My friends always say I'm crazy for walking here after dark. Maybe I am. But fear stopped controlling me a long time ago. I know what lurks in these woods. Wolves. Not the kind that run on 4 legs and chase deer. The kind that walk on 2, talk like men, and rip people open like it's a goddamn sport. The distant sound of branches snapping makes my heartbeat skip. 1, 2, snap. Too heavy for a deer, too deliberate for the wind. They're out tonight. I can feel it. I tighten my grip on the small silver dagger I keep in my pocket, the only thing I have left from my mother. It's not just a weapon. It's a promise. A reminder of the night the Dark Moon Pack painted our neighborhood red and took everything from me. Another snap. Closer this time. Not tonight, I whisper to myself. Then I see her, a little girl, maybe 8, standing in the middle of the path barefoot, her pink pajama pants soaked through. Her eyes are wide, unfocused, wrong. "Hey, sweetheart." I crouch slowly, keeping my voice steady. "Where's your mum?" She doesn't answer. She just points behind me. A low growl vibrates through the air. I spin around. 2 glowing green eyes stare at me from the tree line, unblinking. My stomach drops. He steps out of the shadows like the night itself obeys him. Broad shoulders, bare chest, dark jeans hanging low on his hips like he doesn't need armor, and those eyes unnatural, feral, alpha. The stories don't do them justice. "Run," I hiss to the little girl. But she doesn't move. She's frozen. The wolf's lips curve into something like a smirk. "How cute," he drawls, voice deep, smooth, and dangerous. "A little human thinks she can play hero." I grip my dagger tighter. "Touch her, and I'll slit your damn throat." His laugh is low, amused. "Brave, or stupid?" The next second, he moves too fast. My back slams into a tree before I can react, bark biting into my skin. His hand presses against my throat, not choking, but reminding me he could. His scent is wood smoke and danger. His face is close enough that I can see the slight scar along his jaw. He's beautiful in the way vipers are, something you stare at even as it kills you. "Do you know who I am, little human?" he asks. "Someone I'll bury," I spit. He grins, but there's no warmth in it. "I'm Aaron, Alpha of Dark Moon." His thumb brushes the side of my neck, slow, deliberate. "And you just stepped into my territory." "I don't care," I snap, even though my pulse is hammering so hard it hurts. "I like that fire," he murmurs. "Shame it won't save you." Then the world tilts. He yanks me forward effortlessly, scoops the girl up like she weighs nothing, and in one smooth, terrifying movement, he slings me over his shoulder. I punch, kick, scream, nothing works. His arm is iron. His body heat burns against mine. "You should have run when you had the chance," he says calmly, as the darkness of the forest swallows us whole. And just like that, I'm in the hands of the man I swore I'd kill. The first thing I notice when I wake up is the smell. Not rot, not blood. Pine, smoke, him. I jolt upright. My wrists ache, a dull burn from the rough rope tied tight. I'm on a wooden floor, inside a cabin that looks too polished to belong to monsters. The windows are barred, the door is steel. Caged. I yank the ropes until my skin rubs raw. Useless. Whoever tied this knew exactly what they were doing. Footsteps. Heavy, confident, not rushing because whoever it is doesn't need to. The door swings open, and there he is. Aaron. The bastard who dragged me through the forest like a trophy. He's wearing a black Henley now, sleeves pushed to his forearms. His hair is damp, like he took a shower after kidnapping me. My blood boils. "Good morning, little fighter." His voice slides through the air like smoke. "You snore, by the way." "Untie me," I growl. He cocks a brow. "See, normally captives say please." "I'm not your captive," I spit, "and I don't beg." He steps closer, slow, deliberate, like a predator cornering its prey. His scent is stronger now, and it crawls into my head like heat I can't shake. He kneels to my level, eyes glowing faintly. Wolf eyes. I force myself not to flinch. "You're on my land," he says softly. "You trespassed during a full moon. I could have killed you." "Should have," I snap. "Would have made my night easier." Something flashes across his face, something that's not quite anger. Interest, like my defiance amuses him, and that just pisses me off more. He grabs the rope between my wrists and slices it with a silver knife, the same one hanging from his belt. His speed makes my breath catch, but I don't show it. The ropes fall. I shove to my feet. Big mistake. In 2 steps, I'm slammed against the wall, his hand on my waist, pinning me like I weigh nothing. He's not choking me this time, but the nearness is worse. His breath brushes my ear. "You're in my den, Sera." The way he says my name, like he owns it. I hate that it makes my heart pound. "I don't give a damn where I am," I hiss. "I'll find a way out, and when I do, I'll put silver through your throat." His jaw ticks. "You hate us that much? You killed my family." Something shifts in his eyes. Not guilt, not sympathy, but something quieter. Then it's gone, replaced by cold steel. "Then I guess," he whispers, "we're both living with ghosts." I shove him off me with everything I've got. He lets me. That's what makes it worse, the way he moves like he's already won. "Why am I here?" I demand. His lips curve into that infuriating smirk. "Because someone trespassed on my land, and because I think you might be useful." "Useful?" I bark a laugh. "You mean bait, or worse?" His grin sharpens. "Oh, little human, you've got bite. I like that." The door opens again. Another man steps in, broad, scar down his cheek. He whispers something in Aaron's ear. Aaron's smile disappears. Then he turns back to me. "Change of plans." "Meaning?" He leans close again, and for a heartbeat, the air between us crackles. "Meaning you're coming with me?" I open my mouth to protest, but before I can, his hand closes around my arm, firm, unyielding. He's dragging me out the door and into the cold night air before I can even reach for my dagger. The forest is alive, wolves in human form moving through the trees, whispering in their language. They all stop when they see me. Their stares feel like knives. I glare right back. Aaron tilts his head toward the dark woods. "Welcome to Dark Moon territory, sweetheart." I swear I'll burn it down. The walk through the forest isn't quiet. It's too quiet. Wolves, men, women, some half-shifted with golden or green eyes, part like shadows when Aaron pulls me through. No one touches me. No one speaks. But every gaze burns like a match pressed to skin. I'm human, in their world. And they're just waiting for a reason to tear me apart. The Dark Moon Pack compound isn't what I expected. It's not some dusty collection of cabins. It's organized, almost military. Steel and stone buildings sit between tall pines like a hidden city. There's a training ring, a massive bonfire pit, and a house perched higher than the rest. His house. I don't know how I know it's his, I just feel it. He yanks me up the steps like I'm not fighting him the whole way. I plant my feet at the door. "You can drag me in, but I'll fight every damn second." Aaron glances over his shoulder, those bright green eyes flicking to my mouth, then back up to mine. A smirk curves his lips. "Good. I like it when they fight." "You're disgusting." I'm honest. He pushes the door open, and warmth floods out. High ceilings, black leather, a massive stone fireplace. This is no cabin. It's a throne room for a monster. 3 wolves are already inside. One woman leans against the wall, golden eyes and a scar splitting her bottom lip. Another stands near the fireplace, older, silver hair, and the kind of presence that makes your stomach twist. A third man lounges on the arm of a couch, shirtless, with lazy danger in his grin. "Who's the snack?" the shirtless one drawls. I glare at him. "Bite me." The woman with the scar laughs. Aaron doesn't. She's mine. The way he says it sends an unwanted shiver down my spine. Not mine like a lover, mine like a claim, like a wolf circling its prey. I yank my arm from his grip. "I'm not yours." "Then maybe," he says smoothly, "you shouldn't trespass into a wolf pack's land during a full moon." The older woman speaks, her voice cool and sharp. "She shouldn't be alive at all. You know the rules." Aaron doesn't look away from me when he answers. "She's different." "Different?" I snarl. "I'm human. That's it." He steps closer, close enough that I can feel the heat rolling off him. "Exactly." I frown. What the hell does that mean? He doesn't answer. Instead, he circles me slowly, a predator inspecting something it doesn't quite understand. I can feel the pack watching, waiting to see what he'll do with me. "Your blood smells strange," he finally says, voice dropping lower. "Human, but not quite. And you're still standing here in the middle of my pack without flinching. I'm not afraid of you." He stops behind me, close enough that the heat from his chest brushes my back. "You should be." The room tilts for a second, not from fear, but from anger. White-hot and familiar. The same anger that kept me alive when my parents didn't make it out of the blood-soaked street years ago. I whirl around, dagger flashing. His reflexes are faster, but mine are sharp. The blade kisses his throat, a single silver bead of blood sliding down. A collective growl rolls through the room. Dozens of wolves tense. One twitch, and I'll be shredded. Aaron doesn't move. His green eyes blaze. "You're playing a dangerous game, little human." "I'm not playing," I whisper. "You killed my family. Your kind burned my world to the ground. I don't fear you. I hate you." For a heartbeat, silence. Then he smiles. Not a sweet smile, a sharp, wicked one. "Good. Hate me. Hate me with everything you have." He grabs my wrist, not rough this time, but firm enough to make my pulse jump, and lowers the blade from his throat. "Because the only way you'll survive here," he murmurs, "is if you keep that fire burning." I want to punch him, or maybe stab him, or both. "Why am I here?" I grind out. "Because," Aaron says, stepping back with infuriating calm, "something's coming, and whether you like it or not, little human, you're connected to it." His words settle in my chest like ice. I don't know what the hell he means, but I know one thing for sure. This isn't just a kidnapping. It's a war I didn't ask to be part of. If I'd ever imagined standing in front of a pack of wolves, I'd pictured blood. Not this. The council hall is built from stone and glass, like a cathedral dropped in the middle of the woods. A fire pit roars at its centre, flames casting shadows that make their golden eyes glow brighter. At least 20 wolves stand in a rough circle, all watching me. I'm standing on a black rug in front of them, wrists bound again. Aaron stands just a few steps behind me, radiating the kind of confidence only someone born dangerous can. He's silent, but I can feel him. The scarred woman from earlier, her name's Mara, apparently steps forward. "She's human," she says, like that alone is a death sentence, "and she pulled a blade on our alpha." The growls ripple through the room like a single living thing. I refuse to look down. "She should die," another wolf snarls. "Now." "Agreed," someone else says. "We can't let a human walk among us." I smile, not kindly. "Don't worry, I wouldn't want to walk among you either." The murmurs turn to growls. One man lunges forward, only to be stopped by Aaron's raised hand. He doesn't even look at him. One flick of his fingers and the wolf backs off. That's the kind of power he has here. They don't just follow him, they fear him. And yet I refuse to. Aaron finally speaks. She stays. The room explodes. Shouting, snarling. I catch words like liability, human trash, danger. But he just stands there, bored, like their outrage is a song he's heard too many times. "She's human," Mara says again, stepping closer to him. "What makes her worth the risk?" Aaron's eyes lock on me, and my stomach tightens. Not from fear, but from the way he looks at me like I'm some puzzle he intends to break apart piece by piece. "Her blood," he says simply. "There's something in it. She's connected to the old magic, to the curse." A silence heavier than any scream falls over the room. I blink. "Curse? What the hell are you talking about?" I demand. He ignores me. Mara folds her arms. "Even if that's true, she's human. She won't last a week here." Aaron steps forward, slow and deliberate. "Then we'll find out, won't we?" Mara doesn't look convinced. "You're making a mistake." He gives her a smile that makes my skin prickle. "No, I'm making a choice. There's a difference." Then his hand closes around the back of my neck. Not rough, but enough to make every wolf in the room go silent. It's a claim, a warning, a threat. "From this moment," he says, voice cutting through the hall like steel, "she's under my protection. Anyone who touches her without my permission dies." The silence turns electric. And me? I want to shove him off me so hard his smug jaw snaps. I twist out of his grip and snarl up at him. "I don't need your protection." His gaze drops down to me, all calm predator. "Oh, little human, you do." Something flickers in his eyes, just for a second. Not softness, something darker, possessive, dangerous. "Why?" I bite out. "Why keep me alive? Why risk your pack for someone you hate?" He leans in, his lips just inches from my ear. "Because, Sera," he whispers, "you don't even know what you are yet." A chill slams down my spine. I hate him. I hate that voice, that calm, that power. But worse, I hate the way my pulse reacts like a traitor. There are cages here, real ones, big enough to hold monsters. I know because I'm standing in one. The walls aren't iron bars, but reinforced silver mesh that glints when the light hits. It's meant for wolves, but it burns against my skin if I get too close. I tested it. Once. They call this protective holding. I call it what it is, a prison. Outside the cage, the training ground stretches wide, packed earth, trees on the edge, the faint smell of sweat and blood hanging thick in the air. Wolves are everywhere. Some in human form, others prowling on 4 legs. Every single pair of eyes that lands on me looks like they'd rip me apart if they got the chance. Good. I feel the same way. The door on the far end slams open. I don't need to look to know it's him. Aaron walks toward me like the ground itself clears for him. A few wolves bow their heads as he passes. Others just step aside. He doesn't say a word, but he doesn't have to. His presence speaks loud enough. I meet his gaze through the mesh. "Come to admire your pet?" He stops right in front of my cage, head tilting slightly. "Pet?" His voice is low, dangerous. "No, I don't keep pets. I keep threats on leashes." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Then you should have killed me." "I will," he says softly, "if I need to." That calmness, that unbothered tone, it makes my blood boil hotter than his threats. He unlocks the door and steps in. No hesitation, no fear, like he's certain I can't touch him, like a lion walking into a box with a kitten. "You don't scare me," I say. He steps closer, and my pulse betrays me again, racing like it didn't get the memo. "Liar," he whispers, and for a heartbeat, he's so close I can smell the wood smoke clinging to his skin. I lift my chin higher. "You might kill me, but you'll never own me." He smirks, the corner of his mouth ticking up in that way that makes me want to punch him. "We'll see." Before I can lunge, he grabs my wrist and twists, not enough to hurt, but enough to remind me just how much stronger he is. The grip is firm, controlling, infuriating. "You think you're brave," he says, low enough that only I can hear. But you have no idea what's coming. You have no idea what you are. I yank free, breathing hard. I know exactly who I am, the girl who's going to watch you burn. That gets a reaction. For just a second, his smile falters. His eyes flash, not gold, not green, something darker. Then he laughs. I like you, little human. He turns and walks out of the cage like he didn't just tilt my world sideways. Outside, he tosses an order over his shoulder. Open the ring. Mara steps forward. She's human, Alpha. She won't survive 5 minutes, someone else says. Aaron doesn't look back. Then she'll die. Either way, I'll know what I need to know. The gate opens. The wolves circle in. 3 of them step into the ring. One grins like this is a game. Another cracks his neck. The third shifts, bone snapping, fur exploding out in a ripple of sound. A full wolf. I feel the earth tremble under my bare feet. Aaron leans against the fence, arms folded, watching, testing me. Good, let him watch. Because if this is how I go down, I'm taking at least one of these bastards with me. The first wolf lunges. Fast, too fast. I barely have time to dodge. My shoulder scrapes the ground as I roll, dirt biting into my skin. A growl rips through the air, low and hungry. The crowd roars like they've been waiting for this moment. I scramble to my feet, heart pounding so hard I can feel it in my teeth. Another wolf comes at me from the left. I duck, twist, and shove the heel of my palm into its jaw. The impact rattles up my arm. It's like hitting a wall made of muscle and teeth, but it works. It stumbles back, snarling. The third one doesn't hesitate. It shifts midair, skin ripping, bones cracking, fur melting into a man with claws, and gods, he's grinning. End it quick, someone from the crowd yells. Rip her apart, another shouts. The cage isn't just metal and silver, it's a stage. And I'm the entertainment. Scared yet? The shifter taunts. I wipe the blood from my lip and smirk. You wish. He charges. I don't think I move. Instinct takes over. My hand shoots up, catching his wrist before his claws reach me. And then it happens. The heat. That impossible heat. It pulses from my palm, spreading through my veins like wildfire. His eyes go wide, not from pain, from shock. Smoke curls where my skin touches his. I shove him back with everything I've got. He hits the ground hard, skin smoking, clutching his wrist like I branded him. What the fuck? He gasps. I stare at my hand. It's glowing faintly, like embers beneath my skin. No, not glowing, burning. The crowd goes dead quiet. Even the howls die out. Aaron straightens from where he's leaning against the fence. His gaze locks on me, sharp as a blade. The first wolf circles again, ears flat. The second is already limping. The burned one doesn't move. I taste blood on my tongue and grin. Round 2, I whisper. They come at me together this time, but I'm not the same girl who stumbled into this ring a minute ago. My body moves like it remembers something my mind doesn't, spinning, striking, dodging. One wolf lunges high, I duck and slam my hand against its ribs. A flash of heat, a scream. The wolf drops. The other tries to flank me, but I grab a broken stick from the ground and jam it right under its jaw. Not enough to kill, enough to hurt, enough to show them I'm not prey. The ring fills with growls, whispers, the sound of shifting bodies. Aaron doesn't stop the fight. He doesn't blink. He just watches me like a predator watching something interesting for the first time. The final wolf whimpers, backing away. I step forward, chest heaving, sweat dripping down my neck. I said, I hiss, come on. No one moves, not even him. Then Aaron steps into the ring. The crowd parts like water. Every muscle in my body tenses. He walks toward me slowly, like a storm that knows it can destroy everything in its path. His eyes glow faint gold wolf eyes, and his voice is low, dangerous, intoxicating. What are you? I swallow hard, but I don't look away. I'm the wrong girl to cage. For the first time since I met him. Aaron smiles, not the cruel one, not the mocking one. Something else something sharper. "I knew it," he whispers. "You're not just human." He didn't even give me a minute to breathe before they dragged me back to a cell. This one was worse. No training ring light, no roaring fire, just a small slab of concrete and a slit of window too high to see through. The kind of room made to make you feel smaller. They shoved me inside and the door slammed. The sound echoed like a verdict. I dropped to the floor without thinking, folding my legs into a crooked lotus because my body needed to anchor itself to something that wasn't the pack's breath on my neck. I sat there, knees tight, back straight, palms up, and let the dark press against my eyelids. My hands were still shaking. I turned them over, palms facing up like I could catch whatever had come out of me in some invisible cup. The faint warmth from earlier was gone or hiding, but I could still see the ghost of it under my skin, like embers under ash. Tiny, stubborn, impossible embers. I traced the lines in my hands with my thumb and wondered if I'd been marked by fire instead of by blood. "How did it happen?" Aaron had asked, slow, curious. "What are you?" He didn't look like a man asking a question he expected an answer to. He looked like a man who'd realized the map he'd been following led to a strange country he'd never seen. I had no answer. My mother had never told me anything beyond a name, a lullaby hummed half-remembered, and a warning, never trust the moon. That warning had been the last thing she said before the wolves came and tore the rest of our nights away. I pulled my forehead to my knees and curled tighter, as if I could fold the past smaller. The memory landed like a fist. The smell of gasoline, the high metallic note of panic, Mum's hand hot and sticky in mine as she pushed me away, and then the world tore open. They'd called them wolves then, but the faces I remembered were men with mouths full of teeth and eyes that watched like hungry windows. They'd burned our street down around us. They hadn't whispered. They had laughed. Rage is a slow thing sometimes. It simmers. But right now it rolled up my spine like molten iron. I could feel it, hot and slow, filling the hollows in my ribs. Each breath fed it. I let the anger sit with me until the embers in my palms answered. Heat bloomed under my skin without my permission, a thrill and a terror at once. My fingers tingled like they were alive. I lifted my hands again, looked at them, and something in me, ancient and raw, coiled like a waking animal. The image flashed so clearly I flinched. Their faces in front of me, torn, scorched, Aaron on his knees, eyes wide, begging for mercy. He'd never say it, not really, but I saw him through the dark anyway, shivering, humbled, his voice a paste of please. Please, Sera, please don't. The image of Aaron begging wouldn't leave. It looped behind my eyelids like a cruel movie, his jaw slack, the arrogance drained, the pack gawking in stunned silence as their alpha pleaded with the girl he thought he owned. It should scare me. It didn't. It felt possible. No, not possible, necessary, not for revenge alone, for a reckoning. I pressed my head harder to my knees until my scalp hurt, trying to drive the picture out. The memory of Mum's scream slipped in again, clearer now. Run, Sera, run! I'd run, and I'd kept running until my legs knew every hurt and no one had ever taught me to stop wanting them to pay. If there was something in me that could scorch, if there was a thing that burned where wolves bled, then maybe I wasn't the same kind of human my mother had been. Maybe the lullaby hid a map that never made it to my hands. Maybe my blood had never been ordinary at all. The thought opened like a wound. I tasted it. Copper and old smoke. I tightened my fists until the knuckles clicked. The embers in my palms flared for a second, not as a miracle but as an answer. A promise. A threat. I almost laughed. An ugly, small sound that dissolved into the dark. I imagined it again, slower this time. I saw my hands reaching for Aaron, for his neck, for the pride that sat in his chest like a jewel. I pictured the look on his face when he realized he couldn't call the wolf out of himself to save him. I pictured his people's mouths falling open. I pictured Mara's smile collapsing into something hollow. The dream tasted like ash and honey. Then the door rattled somewhere above me. Footsteps, a voice maybe, and the flame in my palms receded, folding back into the place where it had always been hiding. I lay back, palms cupped to the ceiling, and let the dark swallow the images and the heat and the thudding pulse of a future that smelled, faintly, of smoke. I didn't know what I was. I didn't know whether I would become the monster I imagined or whether the world would bend around whatever was inside me. But I did know this. I would make them pay. The sound of footsteps pulls me out of the blur between rage and exhaustion. Heavy, confident, the kind of walk that doesn't ask permission. I don't have to see his face to know it's him. Aaron. The bastard's aura seeps through the air before he even reaches the door. There's something about him, the way the shadows almost lean toward his presence, like even the dark itself knows who's in charge. The metal door groans open. The dim yellow light from the hallway spills across the floor like a blade. He steps in slowly, all tall muscle and quiet power. Barefoot, shirt clinging to him like sin itself, golden eyes gleaming in the dark. He looks at me, not at the room, not at the bars. Just me. I don't flinch, never flinched. "You're awake," he says, voice low and rough, as if sleep is something he never needs. "Unfortunately," I mutter. He chuckles softly, not kind, never kind. "Good. I hate talking to corpses." He walks closer to the bars, but not close enough for me to reach him. Smart. His wolf probably told him not to get too close. I'm still on the floor, sitting cross-legged like some monk in hell. For a second, neither of us talks. It's quiet, just the faint whistle of wind against the walls and my heartbeat drumming in my ears. Then his eyes flick to my hands. "Interesting," he says. I don't say anything. "You burned one of my men. No silver, no blade, just your hands. That's not human." My jaw tightens. "I don't care what you think I am." He tilts his head slightly. "But you should, because whatever you are, it just put you on every hunter's radar. And mine." I lift my chin, glare slicing through the dark. "You already killed my family. What else could you possibly take?" That gets his attention. His eyes sharpen, like I just touched a nerve he didn't want touched. Then he looks away for a brief second, almost like he's bored, but I catch it. The flicker. The small, almost invisible reaction. I file that away. For later. "You've got fire in you," he murmurs. "Literally and figuratively, but power without control is just a nice way to die fast." "I'll figure it out," I snap. He steps closer now, until the heat from his body seeps through the cold bars. My heart betrays me, beating louder, but I keep my expression stone cold. He lowers his voice. "Maybe. But by the time you figure it out, someone else might kill you first, or worse." His lips curve slowly. "I might." The ember in my palms flickers again, rage sharp and bright. I met his gaze without blinking. "Try me." His eyes glow faint gold. Wolf. Not the beast completely remind me what he is. The air shifts. I swear I can feel the weight of his power pressing against my chest. But then he leans back slightly, expression unreadable. "You're not a prisoner anymore, Sera." I blink. "What?" "You're a problem," he says, "and problems get handled differently." His words crawl under my skin. What the hell does that mean? "It means," he says calmly, "I'm not killing you. Not yet. I want to know what you are. And when I do..." He smirks, and it's not the playful kind. It's sharp, dangerous. "Then I'll decide whether to destroy you or use you." My blood goes cold. Then he turns away like he owns the world, which, here, he kind of does. The door clangs shut behind him, leaving me alone with the sound of my breath and a storm brewing behind my ribs. I press my palms against the cold floor, trying to steady my breathing. But the ember inside me doesn't cool down. It grows, slowly, quietly, like a fuse waiting for the right spark. He thinks he can use me. I whispered to the dark, voice low and steady. I'll burn you before you ever own me. The sound of keys scraping metal pulled me out of the half-sleep I'd fallen into. The door creaked open, and 2 men stepped inside both wolves, judging by the way the air tightened around them. No words, no greetings, just rough hands dragging me to my feet. I didn't fight, not yet. They yanked me down narrow corridors that smelled like wet pine. The pack house. I'd seen its roof when they first dragged me through the woods, massive, almost old world, like a dark castle crouched between trees. Now I was inside it. The walls were wood, but not the warm kind. Everything here felt like it was watching me. We stopped at a small room, stone walls, iron door, but no bars this time. A real bed in the corner, a sink, a single window too high to escape through. New cage, one of them muttered. Comfortable, huh? The other chuckled. I smiled sweetly. Yeah, almost cozy enough for me to burn you both alive? Their laughter died quick. Good. They left without another word, locking the door behind them. I stood in the middle of the room for a long time, letting the quiet press against my ribs. The pack wasn't giving me a cell anymore. That meant something. Not trust. Strategy. Aaron wanted to watch me closer. I walked to the window. Tall pines crowded the edge of the property, and beyond them, nothing but shadows. Wolves patrolled the grounds, their shapes flickering through the dark like silent soldiers. I pressed my fingers against the cold glass. My reflection stared back at me, messy curls, bruised lip, blood smudged along my jaw. But what caught me wasn't the damage. It was my eyes. There was something new there, something sharp. Power didn't change your face, it changed your gaze. My palms tingled again, heat. Not as violent this time, more like a warning. I curled my fingers into fists, forcing it down. I couldn't afford to lose control. Not here, not with their king watching. Because he was watching. I could feel it before I heard the steps outside the door. Aaron. The door unlocked, slow and deliberate, like everything he did. He stepped inside without asking, filling the room with that maddening mix of quiet dominance and arrogance. He looked too calm for a man whose soldier I'd scorched. White shirt, bare feet, wolf beneath his skin. "I see you like your new room," he said. I laughed without humour. "Yeah, real 5-star dungeon. Where's my welcome drink?" His lips twitched. Not a smile, not exactly. "You're not in a dungeon anymore, little fire." The nickname slithered into the air like smoke. "Don't call me that," I hissed. "Why not?" he asked, tilting his head like a predator studying prey. "It suits you. I'll burn your tongue off one day." He stepped closer, the floorboards creaking under his weight. He didn't stop until there was barely a breath of space between us. His scent, pine, danger, something dark hit me like a punch. I hated how it curled in my lungs. "Maybe you will," he murmured, "and maybe I'll enjoy it." My pulse thundered. Not fear, not exactly. Something sharper, uglier. I forced my hands to stay at my sides, even though they wanted to blaze. "What do you want?" "I want to know what you are," he said softly, like it was the only truth he owned. "And until I figure it out, you're staying right here, under my roof, under my eyes." "Then keep staring," I snapped, "but don't expect me to kneel." His gaze flickered a flash of something dangerous, maybe amused. "You're in my pack's land. Everyone kneels eventually." "Not me." He leaned in, his voice almost brushing my skin. "We'll see." Then, just like that, he stepped back and walked to the door, leaving me with my heartbeat thrumming in the silence. I exhaled, long and shaky. The heat in my hands was back, but steadier now. Controlled. I walked to the corner of the room, sat down in the same monk position as before, and whispered to the walls, "Watch me, wolf. Watch me burn your kingdom to the ground." The morning came too early. Not that I'd slept. A soft knock on the door, then it opened without waiting for permission. 2 wolves again. Not the same ones from last night, but they wore the same smug faces. They dropped a tray of food on the desk like I was some pet, and then stepped back, watching. "Eat," one of them said. I stared at the tray: eggs, bread, water, real food, not the kind you give to someone you plan to kill tomorrow. I lifted a brow. Trying to fatten me up? No answer, just stiff shoulders and wolf eyes that said orders. I smiled slowly. "Tell your alpha I don't eat anything he touches." That got a flicker out of one of them. Fear? Annoyance? I couldn't tell. But they left without forcing me. Very good. The door locked behind them, but they didn't know something I'd already decided: I wasn't staying in this room forever. The window was useless, too high. The door was thick iron, not something I could burn through yet. But I had something better. Time. Wolves get comfortable in their own dens, probably fucking like there is no tomorrow. Comfortable wolves make mistakes. I paced slowly around the room, memorizing every crack, every hinge, every pattern of sound outside the walls. Footsteps at regular intervals. Heavy patrol at night. Quieter at dawn. No one lingered too close, probably because they still didn't trust what was inside me. I pressed my hands against the window frame. Cold. It grounded me, kept the fire in check, but underneath my skin, that ember still pulsed. A steady rhythm now, like it was syncing with my heartbeat. Whatever this power was, it wasn't fading. It was waiting. The door opened again a few hours later, but this time no guards. Just him. Aaron leaned against the doorway like he owned the world. Well, in this corner of it, he did. He didn't wear a shirt again, like he enjoyed walking around looking like sin carved out of a bad decision. Broad chest, lean muscle, smug green eyes. "I expected you'd flip the table or something by now," he said lazily. "Disappointing you is my new favourite hobby," I muttered. He stepped inside, slow, deliberate. "I'm taking you out." I narrowed my eyes. "Out where?" "To see the pack," he said simply. "To remind you whose land you're on, and to remind them what happens when something strange falls into our laps." I folded my arms. "I'm not a pet you get to parade around." "No," he said. "You're a storm I'm trying to understand." The way he said it, calm, controlled, with something dangerous under the surface, made my pulse spike. I hated that. Hated how he could sound like both a threat and a temptation in the same breath. "I'll burn your pack to the ground," I whispered. He smiled. Not a real one. Something darker. "Then I guess we should give you a good look at what you'll destroy." They made me walk beside him, not behind. Wolves lined the paths between cabins and training grounds, their gazes sharp and heavy. Some curious, some hateful, some afraid. I liked the afraid ones. The sun cut through the pines, slicing light across Aaron's profile. He walked like a king through a kingdom built on blood. Every wolf here bent slightly, not enough to bow, just enough to acknowledge the crown no one could see. I clenched my fists so tight my nails bit into my palms. These were the monsters who had taken everything from me. And here I was, walking right through the heart of their home. "This is where it started," Aaron murmured as we passed a large clearing. Wolves trained there, muscles slick with sweat, laughter and growls mixing like one sound. Dark moon territory. My father built this place with fire and blood. I forced out a harsh laugh. "I guess burning things runs in your family." His eyes slid toward me sharp, unreadable. "Careful, little fire." I stared right back. "Or what? You'll throw me to your pack?" He stepped closer, close enough that the heat of his body wrapped around mine like a trap. His voice dropped low. "Or I'll keep you all to myself." My pulse jumped. Damn him. Damn the way he spoke like every word was a dangerous promise. I took a small step back, forcing myself to breathe. "Focus, Sera. Remember why you're here. Rage first, revenge later." I watched the pack, their training, their hierarchy, their movements. My mind recorded everything like a thief mapping a palace. Aaron might think he was watching me, but I was watching too, and one day soon I'd set fire to every piece of this place, starting with him. They'd gathered under the new moon like a funeral for the sun. The clearing smelled of wet earth and smoke. Wolves filled it in a rough ring, muscles coiled, voices low and contented with their own power. Torches threw a hard orange light across faces that knew how to kill. They'd built a pyre in the centre, a stupid old ritual to honour the pack, or some dead idea of honour. Aaron stood on the low rise, silhouette sharp against the night, the pack's attention glued to him. He looked like he always did when he owned a crowd, calm, dangerous, the kind of man who could make people forget to breathe. I stood near the back where no one bothered me. They clustered me like a strange artifact, looked but didn't touch. My hands were folded into my sleeves. The ember inside them hummed like a caged thing. I kept it small, obedient. I wasn't ready to light the world on fire in front of dozens of wolves who wanted me dead and an alpha who thought I was a problem. Aaron spoke, voice deep, and the pack answered with a roll of sound that felt like thunder. He was calling for silence, for unity, something he did well. He was a man who commanded storms. He was also the man I wanted destroyed. And then the sky broke. It was sudden, a sharp whistle, like a blade across fabric. A flare hurled from the tree line, not a singe of light, but a globe of silver that detonated above the pyre. Fire rained down, but it wasn't ordinary flame. It smelled metallic and bitter, cut with the cold sting of silver. Men screamed. Torches fizzled out as if someone had snuffed the world's candle. Panic lanced through the crowd. Wolves shifted, half-formed shapes collapsing into fur and teeth, taking advantage of the chaos. Shadows moved in the tree line like smoke made flesh. The Ashborn, rivals with teeth full of malice, had chosen to strike the ceremony, and they'd chosen to do it with something designed to hurt wolves and break magic. A wolf near me, young, blue-eyed, went down coughing, clutching his throat as silver dust clung to his fur, hissing like a living thing. Fear tastes like iron. My heart slammed hard enough to bruise my ribs. This was the moment that carved the rest of my life. Someone lunged toward Aaron. A blade flashed, silvered, cruel, meant for the man who wore blood like a crown. The assassin moved with that cold efficiency only trained killers have. For one insane second I saw Aaron fall, heard the wet, wrong sound of life be cut. I hadn't planned to care whether he lived. I'd pictured his begging 100 times and felt a dark, hot satisfaction at the image. Then the world moved in a way that had nothing to do with plans. My hands flared. It wasn't a thought, so much as a flinch. Heat exploded behind my palms like a second heartbeat. Where my skin met air, the silver dust sizzled. The assassin's blade glanced off a shimmering wall of heat that had bloomed between him and Aaron. The man staggered, eyes blinded for a heartbeat by the bright, fierce light. For a moment, just a sliver, the clearing fell silent. Flames licked the edges of the pyre, but the fire they cast felt different, alive, deliberate, forming a halo that pushed back the silver like water on hot metal. I realized I'd pushed forward. I wasn't sure if my feet had moved of their own accord, or if I had made them. All I knew was that my hands were out, palms forward, and heat thundered out of me in a wave. The world tasted like ash and adrenaline. Someone shouted my name in shocked, angry disbelief. A dozen voices turned toward me like a pack scenting blood. I felt their gasps like blows. Aaron's eyes met mine through the conflagration, wide and unreadable. For the first time since this nightmare started, I saw something behind the cruelty, a raw, sharp thing that might have been fear. I pushed the power outward again, not thinking about mercy or justice or whether I should be saving him. I moved because the body of a child, little Emma, the one I'd rescued the night I was captured, was stumbling at the edge of the ring, coated in the silver dust and coughing until her ribs shook. The ember in my hands snapped like a match and flung itself between her and the nearest wolf, the heat forming a shield that kept the silver from touching her skin. Her eyes met mine, huge, wet, terrified, and something feral and human at the same time unclipped in my chest. I'd killed for less than this in my head. I would burn a kingdom with my bare hands if someone touched that child. The assassin recovered and dove for me instead, fury in his movements. My palms surged hot and bright, and where my skin struck his shoulder, the silver flaked away and hissed. He fell back, smoke curling off his cloak. Around me, wolves scrambled, some to aid Aaron, some to fend off the intruders. Mara's voice cut through the chaos, ruthless, terrifying. "Ashbourne!" she yelled. "Drive them back!" Pack erupted into a war song. The clearing felt unreal. Torchlight, silver dust, the smell of burning cloth and hair, and I stood in the middle of it, my heartbeat loud as a drum, my hands still humming with heat. Aaron moved like a different animal. The alpha I'd loathed snapped into predator protection. He reached me faster than I expected, not pushing through the crowd so much as his presence compelled them to clear a path for him. He grabbed my upper arm with a grip that was all command and no tenderness. The contact didn't soothe me. It grounded me like iron. "You," he growled, breath hot and close. "You just... What the hell are you?" My chest heaved. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I won't let them kill their own..." My voice broke. I hadn't known that was what I was saying until the words left me. "Or yours." His jaw clenched. For a second, the pack's eyes were 1,000 knives. Some looked at me with fear, some with awe, most with something like betrayal. Aaron's face shifted, anger, calculation, and then something else raw and very human. He tightened his hand on my arm until it hurt, not to punish but to anchor. "You exposed yourself." "No," I snapped, heat still thrumming in my fingers. "They tried to kill a child." "You could have killed a lot more than them." His voice was dangerously low. He kept his eyes from softening. He wouldn't give me that. "You just put every single one of us on edge." "I also didn't let them kill your son of a..." The thought cut off. I didn't know why I'd almost said it. I didn't know why I'd defended him at all. But I'd done it. Silence dropped like snowfall, while the last of the attackers fell back into the trees. Wolves tidied wounds and argued orders and counted men. I felt 1,000 gazes weigh me down. Aaron's hand finally eased, but his grip didn't release. He leaned in so close the faintest smell of him filled my nostrils. His voice was the quiet that follows storms. "You just saved my life, Sera. Reckless and stubborn and impossible, you're going to get us all killed." "Maybe," I said, and anger flared hot enough to sting. "Maybe you deserved a little death dance." He didn't laugh. He nodded once, curt, like a man who just swallowed something bitter. "You were reckless. You were brave. Both will be useful." He let go, and for a flash I saw something like gratitude, but he buried it. He would not be indebted to me. Not now. Not ever. My hands still hummed. The ash of the pyre drifted like snowfall across our faces. I'd stepped into the centre of their world and set it alight to protect something I hadn't planned to protect. I didn't know if it changed me or him or both. I only knew the ember in my palms had grown, and so had the distance between what I wanted and what I'd done. When the pack surged to rebuild, Aaron met my eyes one last time. No softness, just a hard, unreadable promise. "We'll talk," he said. I wondered if talk would mean chains, questions, answers, or a dozen other things I didn't want. I wondered if, somewhere in the smouldering, my image of him begging would still find its way through. For now, the sky had broken, and the clearing was a mess of smoke and bodies. I'd lit a match in the centre of a den built by wolves, and for the first time, the light found Aaron's face in a way that made him look absurdly, not invincible. He was just a man. I was just a girl with a dangerous secret. The pack had seen it. The attackers had fled. The night was alive and raw with consequences. I cleaned my hands on my jeans. They were still warm. I would be ready for whatever came next.
Aaron's point of view.
Smoke still hung over the clearing like a curse. The earth was black and wet where silver had burned it. Wolves moved in silence now, licking wounds, dragging bodies, pretending not to look at me. The dark moon pack was never silent. Not like this. I stood on the edge of the fire pit, hands slick with blood that wasn't mine, and watched the last ember die. Every muscle in my body was tight, every breath slow enough to taste the iron in the air. They were afraid, not of the Ashbourne, of her. Sera, the human who wasn't human, the mortal who'd thrown herself into the fire to save a child and me. I didn't want to think about that part. I didn't want her face replaying in my head the defiance in her eyes, the way the flames curled around her like they belonged to her. I didn't want to remember the split second when I'd thought she was dead, and how something deep in my chest had gone feral. Mara approached, voice low but laced with steel. She's dangerous. I didn't look at her. So am I. She's unpredictable. You saw what she did. Wolves are whispering, some think she's a witch, others think she's a demon. The young are scared, the old are angry. She saved Emma, I said flatly. She also melted half the damn clearing, Mara snapped. And you're standing there defending her. I turned then, slow and deliberate, meeting Mara's glare. She didn't back down. She never did. But I saw the flicker of unease under her fury. She used that power because the Ashbourne attacked us, I said. Not for sport. Or maybe she wanted to show us what she's capable of, Mara hissed. Make us fear her, the same way we once feared you. That landed like a blade to the ribs. For a long moment I didn't speak. I just watched the smoke twist upward and vanish into the black sky. She's not one of us, Mara said finally, voice softer now. She never will be. I sighed, dragging a hand through my hair. I know. But knowing it didn't stop the question burning a hole in my mind. Then what the hell is she? When the others were gone, I walked to the cabin we'd locked her in. Not a cell this time, not technically. It was one of the old guest rooms, rough wood walls, one window barred, a single light glowing dimly in the corner. She was sitting on the floor again, arms around her knees, head bowed. Her skin was streaked with soot, her curls tangled and wild. The fire in her hands had gone, but I could still feel it, like the ghost of heat in the air. She looked up when I stepped in. No fear, just waiting. You came to kill me? She asked, voice hoarse. No. I shut the door. Not yet. Her lips twitched, almost a smile, but not quite. You say that a lot. I mean it a lot. She tilted her head. You should thank me. For what? For saving your ass. I should have laughed. I didn't. I stepped closer, slowly, until the air between us felt tight again, the way it always did. You didn't do that for me. Her chin lifted. No, I did it for the child. Good, I said, because I don't like owing debts. Then call it even, she shot back. You cage me, I save your life, balance restored. I stared at her. This tiny human, this impossible, reckless creature who didn't know how to bow. Do you even know what you are? I asked quietly. She hesitated. Just a flicker, but I caught it. I'm human. No. I took another step, close enough that I could hear her heartbeat stutter once, then steady again. You're something else, and until I find out what, you stay here. You mean prisoner? I mean under protection. She laughed, bitter and sharp. From who, Aaron? You. That name on her tongue. It shouldn't have sounded like that. I turned away before the thought could dig in deeper. From everyone, I said finally. Her voice softened, but only barely. You're scared of me. I stopped at the door. My hand hovered over the knob. You think too much of yourself, human. Maybe, she said. But you didn't deny it. I left without another word. Outside, the night air was cold enough to bite. I stared at the dark trees until the first hint of dawn broke over the ridge. The pack would want her gone, some would want her dead, and part of me agreed. But another part, the part I'd spent years burying under orders, loyalty, and blood, whispered something else entirely. That girl's fire had saved my life, and for reasons I didn't want to name, that made her mine to deal with. Not to love, not to trust, but to understand, even if it killed us both. The pack house felt wrong. Normally it pulsed with life, laughter, low arguments, the thud of boots and bare paws across wood. But tonight it was silent. No one looked at me for more than a second. No one wanted to. I'd led them through battles, bloodshed, betrayals, but never this. A human who burned silver, a girl who broke the laws of what we believed. And I'd let her live. The council met in the lower hall. The long table gleamed dark under candlelight. My lieutenants filled the chairs, men and women who'd bled for me, wolves who'd follow me anywhere. Until now. Mara stood at the far end, arms crossed, eyes sharp as glass. "Let's talk about the witch," she said. I didn't respond. I just poured myself a drink I didn't want. "She's not a witch," Dax said. Big man, quiet voice. "I saw her up close. That wasn't spell work." "Then what was it?" Mara hissed. "Because I smelled human blood on her, but her power burned like fey fire. You think that's normal?" The room erupted, voices overlapping, chairs scraping. Could be a curse. Could be the Ashbourne's trick. She saved the Alpha. She's dangerous. I slammed my hand against the table. The wood cracked down the center. Silence. "She's under my protection," I said quietly. That word protection felt heavier than I meant it to. Mara's jaw flexed. "So you're siding with her now?" "I'm not siding with anyone," I growled. "I'm keeping control. You want panic? You want blood feuds before sunrise? She's a threat to the pack. She saved the pack." I cut her off, meeting every eye at the table. If she wanted us dead, we'd be ash right now. That shut them up. For a minute. Dax finally spoke, voice steady. "Then what's your plan?" "My plan. Right. The one I didn't have." "She stays," I said, "until I find out what she is." Mara's eyes narrowed. "And if she's something that can destroy us, then I'll handle it." The weight of those words hung in the air like a promise. They all knew what it meant. If she turned out to be a danger, I'd be the one to end her. The meeting dissolved not long after. They left in silence, though the air was thick with resentment. Mara lingered last, her hand gripping the doorway. "You're changing, Aaron," she said quietly. I didn't look at her. "Maybe I finally am what they need." "No," she said. "Maybe you're starting to feel." That word stung worse than silver. When she was gone, I stayed in the empty hall, staring at the broken line in the table. I didn't fix it. I didn't move. I just let the silence settle in. Feeling. That's what got alphas killed. That's what made them weak. And yet every time I closed my eyes, I saw her the way the fire bent toward her like it knew her name. The way she'd glared at me through the flames, as if daring me to understand her. I wanted to hate her. Needed to. Instead, I found myself walking again past the dark corridors, up the creaking stairs, until I was standing outside the door where we'd locked her. The light was still on. I told myself I just wanted to make sure she hadn't burned the place down. That was a lie. The truth was uglier. I just wanted to see her. My hand hovered near the knob. For a moment I almost opened it. Then I heard her voice, soft, faint, almost a whisper. She was talking in her sleep. "Mum, fire, stop." My breath hitched. It wasn't fear in her voice. It was pain. I stepped back before I could think twice. I couldn't walk in there. Not when my instincts were already a mess torn between protecting her, interrogating her, and something far worse. I turned and walked back down the hall, each step heavier than the last. By the time I reached my room, the decision had already formed in my mind. At dawn, I'd take her out of this house, away from the whispers, away from the fear, somewhere I could get answers without an audience. Because if she really was what I thought, if that fire was more than chance, more than magic, then she was either the weapon this pack needed, or the one that would destroy us all. And I needed to know which. Dawn bled pale over the pines when I found her. She was already awake, sitting by the barred window, watching the world she wasn't part of. The early light softened her face, but nothing about her looked soft. She turned before I could speak. "You couldn't sleep either." I ignored that. "Get up. You're coming with me." "Where?" "Out." Her brows drew together. Out as in freedom, or out as in execution? I didn't answer, and that was answer enough. She sighed, stood, dusted her jeans, and followed. No fear in her step. She walked like someone who'd decided she was done being scared. We crossed the compound in silence. The pack members watched from the porch shadows, pretending not to. A few dipped their heads when I passed. Most didn't. The scent of unease hung heavy in the air. At the gate, I signaled to the sentry. He opened it without question, though his eyes flicked between us, confused. A human girl walking beside the alpha that would feed the gossip for days. Once the forest swallowed us, the air changed. Sharper, wilder. The wind carried pine and frost, and the faint metallic sting of silver ash still lingering from the night before. Sera kept pace easily, though her legs were shorter. She moved like she'd grown up running from something. Finally, she broke the silence. "Are you planning to kill me in the woods?" "If I were," I said, "you wouldn't see it coming." "Good to know," she muttered. "You're a real poet." I ignored the jab and stopped at the creek that cut through the trees. The water ran fast and cold. This was far enough close to the border, far from the pack's eyes. "Show me," I said. She blinked. "Show you what?" "What you did last night. The fire." Her arms crossed. "I told you, I don't know how it happened." "Then figure it out," I snapped, stepping closer. "You expect me to protect something I don't understand. You could be a weapon. You could be a curse. I won't risk the pack because you're scared to try." Her jaw tightened. "You think this is fear? I think it's denial." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Just the rush of water, the hiss of wind through trees. Then she exhaled, slow and shaking. "Fine," she said. "You want a show? You got one." She crouched, dipped her hands in the creek, and closed her eyes. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the air changed warmer, thicker, humming with energy. The water around her fingers began to steam. Slowly, impossibly, the current obeyed her, curling upward, rippling like something alive. Her eyes opened. They weren't glowing, but they didn't need to be. The reflection of fire flickered in them, even though there wasn't any flame. I'd seen magic before, fae, witchcraft, even the wild chaos of a new wolf, but this was different. Raw, elemental. When she lifted her hands, the water followed, twisting into a spiral of steam that pulsed with heat. Then her breath hitched, the controls snapped, the water flashed to fire a column of bright orange that roared upward and vanished into smoke. She stumbled back, clutching her wrists. I caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin burned under my hands, hot enough to make me wince, but I didn't let go. Her breathing was fast, eyes wide and glassy. I didn't mean to. I know. My voice came out rougher than I intended. But you did. She looked up at me then, and for a heartbeat everything else, the cold, the forest, the pack, the danger disappeared. That same flicker from last night clawed at my chest, something primal and wrong and alive. I forced my hands to release her and took a step back. You're done for today. Her voice was low. You're afraid of me. I met her gaze. No, I'm afraid of what happens if I'm not careful with you. She frowned. You make that sound like I'm a bomb. Maybe you are. We started walking back in silence. She didn't speak again, and neither did I. But as we reached the edge of the clearing, a sound rose from the trees, a low, sharp howl. Not one of mine. Ashbourne. I froze, scanning the horizon. They shouldn't have been this close. Sera caught the shift in my stance instantly. What is it? Stay behind me. Aaron. Now. The scent hit first iron and smoke. Then the shapes emerged through the mist. 3 wolves, big and lean, eyes glowing red with hatred. They'd tracked us. I stepped forward, shifting halfway, claws cutting through skin. My wolf surged beneath, snarling for blood. Sera whispered, Aaron, wait. But it was too late. The first wolf lunged. I met him mid-air, the impact cracking like thunder. And behind me, through the chaos, I heard Sera scream, not in fear, in fury. The air ignited. The world split open in fire. 1 second, the Ashbourne wolves lunged the next. The forest was burning. Flames tore through the clearing like they'd been waiting for her command. They didn't spread the way normal fire did. They chose. They curled around me, but never touched me, circling the enemy like living serpents. The wolves screamed the kind of sound that made even my wolf recoil. The scent of burning fur filled the air. Through it all, Sera stood in the center of the chaos, her hair whipping in the heat, eyes wild with something between rage and terror. Her palms glowed a molten gold, and every breath she took seemed to feed the flames. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I could only watch. When the last Ashbourne wolf collapsed into ash, the fire didn't stop. It swirled tighter around her, like it wanted to protect her or consume her. Sera, I shouted, forcing my voice through the roar. Enough. She didn't hear me. Her body shook, power tearing through her like it was trying to escape. The earth itself trembled beneath us. I didn't think I ran straight into the fire. The heat should have seared flesh from bone, but it didn't. It parted for me, reluctantly, like it knew me. When I reached her, her eyes locked on mine, not blue anymore, but burning amber. Aaron, her voice cracked, trembling. I can't stop it. Yes, you can. I caught her wrists, ignoring the scorch that followed. Look at me. I'll burn you. I've survived worse. Her power fought me, but I held on, dragging her close until her forehead pressed to my chest. The fire screamed, then shuddered, and slowly, painfully, it began to die. Smoke drifted upward. The forest went silent again, except for her ragged breathing and my own. When the last ember vanished, she sagged against me, shaking. I didn't let go. For a long time, we just stood there surrounded by blackened earth and the scent of death. Finally, she whispered, "They were going to kill us." I nodded. They would have tried. But I killed them first. Her voice was hollow, almost childlike. I didn't mean to, but I wanted to. I swallowed hard. You did what you had to. She pulled back enough to look up at me. Is that what you tell yourself when you kill? The question cut deeper than it should have. Yes, I said quietly, and it's the only reason I sleep at all. Her gaze searched mine, unreadable. Then she stepped away, wrapping her arms around herself. You're afraid of me. I didn't answer. Because she was right, but not for the reason she thought. I wasn't afraid of what she could do. I was afraid of what she was starting to make me feel. The bond I'd tried to ignore tugged hard, a pull that felt like it could drag me under. The scent of her smoke and something impossibly sweet hit me, and my wolf stirred restlessly. She turned, heading back toward the compound without waiting for me. I watched her for a moment before following, every instinct screaming that I should chain her again, keep her contained. But another part, the one I didn't trust, whispered that I never should have caged her in the first place. Because fire doesn't belong behind bars.
When I woke up, the world smelled like smoke. It clung to my hair, my clothes, my skin, a reminder that what I burned wasn't just trees, it was lives, wolves, people. I didn't remember falling asleep, only collapsing on the hard wooden floor of the cabin Aaron shoved me into afterward. I guess he didn't want to risk me lighting up the forest again. Smart. I sat up slowly. The air was cold. The window was barred again. But this time, I didn't even try to break out. My hands were the first thing I saw. My hands. They looked normal now, human. But I remembered the heat, the light that had crawled up my arms, the screams, the way Aaron's voice had somehow cut through it all. He told me to stop, and I did. Why? Why did I listen to him? I pressed my palms together, half expecting to feel that heat spark again. Nothing, just skin, cold and trembling. Who the hell am I? I whispered to the silence. Aaron's words came back, low and sharp. You're not just human. My mother never said anything about me being different. She was all I had, and she died screaming under a pack of wolves that looked a lot like his. There was no time for secrets. I leaned back against the wall, pulled my knees to my chest and pressed my forehead to them. For a second, I could almost smell my mum's perfume jasmine and honey before it was drowned out by the memories of blood. I'd been 13 when it happened. The night they tore through our town, hunting someone. Mum shoved me into a cellar, told me not to make a sound. I heard her screams through the floorboards. I heard bones crack, and when the silence came, I thought maybe she'd survived. But when I came out, I swallowed hard, fighting the sob that threatened to choke me. I hated them. Every single one of them. Especially him. Aaron, the alpha who ordered wolves like those, the one who stood there calm as his people tried to rip me apart, the one who looked at me like I was both a threat and a fascination. I clenched my fists, and that faint pulse of heat stirred again deep under my skin, a heartbeat made of fire. It startled me so much I almost dropped my hands. But it didn't hurt this time. It felt alive, like it wanted out but was waiting for permission. Easy, I muttered. Not yet. Because now I knew what I wanted. I wanted answers what I was, where that power came from, but more than that, I wanted revenge. I wanted to burn every last one of them for what they did to my mom. And when it was over, when their alpha fell to his knees begging for his life, I wanted to look him in the eye. And not hesitate the way I did before. The door creaked before I even heard footsteps. He didn't knock. Of course he didn't. Alphas don't knock, they enter. I didn't look up right away. I sat on the edge of the cot still, breathing slow, staring at my palms as if I could make them burn again. I couldn't. The fire was silent now, coiled deep inside me like a sleeping beast. The sound of boots stopped a few feet away. Still alive, Aaron said. His voice was calm, but there was something new in it, rougher, quieter, like he wasn't sure what to say next. Disappointed? I asked. My voice came out steady, colder than I meant it to. Surprised. I looked up then. He was leaning against the doorframe, broad shoulders filling it like it was built for him. His black shirt was torn at the sleeve, a smear of soot across his jaw. He looked more wolf than man, and somehow that made me hate him more. "Why am I still here?" I asked. "You could have killed me like the others." His eyes met mine, that strange gold that never stayed one colour for long. I should have, but I didn't. I snorted. How generous. He stepped closer, and the air shifted, thickened. Don't mistake mercy for weakness. Mercy? I laughed, sharp and bitter. You threw me in a cage, twice. You burned half my territory. They tried to kill me. I warned you what they were. And I told you I didn't care. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. We stood there, eyes locked, both breathing hard. I could hear the faint tick of his heartbeat, the low rumble of his wolf just beneath the surface. Then he said, quieter, "You killed 5 wolves today, Sera. Do you even realize what that means?" "Yeah," I said flatly. "It means they're dead, and I'm not." His jaw flexed. "It means you're not as human as you think." I stood up so fast the chair behind me screeched against the floor. "Stop saying that. It's the truth." "No," I snapped, stepping closer. "You don't get to decide who I am." "Then tell me what you are," he growled. I froze, because I couldn't, because I didn't know. When I didn't answer, he took another step, closing the space between us until I could feel the heat of him, that strange, steady warmth that made my pulse skip even as my anger rose. He looked down at me, eyes searching, voice low. "You could have killed me out there too, you know. The fire didn't touch me. I should have tried harder." "You didn't." Something in the way he said it quiet, knowing made my throat tighten. I hated that. I hated him for making me feel anything but rage. I forced a smirk. "Don't flatter yourself, Alpha. Next time I won't miss." His lips twitched not quite a smile. "Next time I won't hold back either." For a moment neither of us moved. The tension between us crackled like static, heavy and dangerous. Then he turned and walked out, the door slamming shut behind him. The silence that followed was worse than his presence, because it left me alone with the one thought I didn't want to face. For the first time since my mother's death, someone had made me hesitate. And that terrified me more than fire ever could. I knew something was wrong the moment the guards stopped talking when I walked past the bars. They usually muttered nonsense, crude jokes, growls, insults, but today they were silent. That kind of silence meant only one thing: death. I sat back down on the cot, pretending not to notice. I'd learned to listen better when I acted like I wasn't. One of them tall, scarred, with a voice that sounded like gravel, muttered under his breath. "Alpha's losing it. Keeping her alive this long. She's a damn threat." "Not for long," the other replied. "Council meets at sundown. They'll make him end it." My stomach twisted. End it. End me. I pressed my lips together to stop them from shaking. I'd faced wolves, fire, pain, but this waiting was worse. They thought I couldn't hear them, that I was just a fragile human girl sitting in a cage. They didn't know that the air around me was pulsing again, faint, invisible, but alive. I lowered my head, hiding the spark under my palms. It was weaker than before, but there. It responded to my heartbeat, slow and steady. Fantastic. I wasn't going to die here, not in this cage, not by their hands. The door above me creaked open, footsteps echoed down the hall. My chest tightened. Aaron. I didn't need to look to know it was him. His scent hit first forest, smoke, and something sharper underneath. Command. The guard snapped to attention as he approached. "Leave us," he said, voice quiet but final. They didn't argue. The door closed behind them. He stood there for a long moment, staring at me. I stared right back, refusing to look away. You've been listening, he said finally. Hard not to, when people discuss your death like it's dinner plans. His jaw tightened. The council thinks you're too dangerous. They're right. That threw him for a second. He frowned. You're not helping yourself. Did I ask you to help me? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. You don't understand, Sera. You killed Pack Wolves' warriors, their families. Didn't care about mine. The words came out sharper than I meant. I saw the flicker of pain in his eyes, quickly buried under steel. I stood, walked right up to the bars until we were barely a breath apart. You think I'm some monster you can control? I'm not your weapon, and I'm not your project. If they want me dead, I lifted my chin, they'll have to come in here and try. He stared at me for a long moment, his green eyes unreadable. Then, quietly, you'd fight them all. I smiled without humour. I already did. Something dark crossed his face, admiration, fear, something else he wouldn't name. You don't make things easy, do you? I wasn't made to. He exhaled, stepping closer to the bars, lowering his voice. If the council votes to kill you, I can't stop it. You could try, I whispered. Our eyes met through the iron, and for a heartbeat, the world shrank to just that, the sound of our breathing, the pull between us that neither of us wanted to admit. Then he turned away, muttering something that sounded almost like a curse. You're going to be the death of me. Get in line, I said softly. He left without another word, the door closing behind him. The silence that followed wasn't empty this time. It was alive. Because now I knew what was coming. And if this was my last night, then I was taking a few of them with me. They came for me at dusk. 2 wolves, silent and armed, unlocked the cage without a word. Their eyes didn't meet mine, maybe because it's easier to drag someone to their death if you don't look at them. I didn't fight. The corridor smelled of smoke and pine sap. Voices drifted from beyond the heavy doors ahead, deep, commanding, angry. The Council of Dark Moon. Aaron's people. The ones who decided who lived, who died, who mattered. When the doors opened, the air hit me like ice. The room was circular, torches burning along the walls, shadows stretching long across the stone floor. At the centre stood Aaron, tall, steady, his face unreadable. He didn't look at me right away. 6 other wolves sat in carved wooden chairs forming a half circle. Their eyes glowed faintly shades of gold, amber, silver. Old wolves, ruthless ones. Bring her forward, one said. His voice was sharp like metal scraping stone. The guards shoved me until I stood in the middle of the circle. She's smaller than I expected, another sneered. Hard to believe she burned a dozen acres. I can hear you, I said. The first one's eyes narrowed. You'll speak only when spoken to. I smiled sweetly. Then speak faster. A low growl rumbled through the room. Aaron's jaw tightened, but he didn't stop them. Human, one elder said. You killed 5 of our kind. You wield a power forbidden on this land. You are a danger to every living thing here. Then stop calling me human, I snapped, because apparently I'm not. That got their attention. Aaron's gaze finally lifted to mine, warning in his eyes, like he knew I was about to make everything worse. I didn't ask for this, I continued, voice steady now. I didn't ask for your wolves to attack me. I didn't ask for this power, but I used it because I had to, so if you want to punish someone, start with the bastards who turned me into this. A murmur swept through the elders. One of them leaned forward. And who would that be? I don't know, I admitted, but it wasn't me. Convenient, one said coldly. Aaron finally spoke. Enough. The room fell silent. His voice was calm, but the kind of calm that made even the old wolves hesitate. She saved my life, he said simply, and she saved this pack. The Ashbourne wolves would have slaughtered us all if she hadn't fought back. She burned them alive, one elder hissed. Aaron's eyes flashed gold. They were enemies. And what happens when she decides we are? That hit like a blade. The question hung in the air, sharp and real. I met Aaron's eyes. He didn't look away this time. There was conflict there, something that looked like doubt. Very well, he should doubt. Because I wasn't sure myself. The eldest wolf, grey hair braided down his shoulder, rose slowly. This creature is neither wolf nor human. Whatever she is, she doesn't belong among us. My chest tightened. Aaron stepped forward. She stays. The elder's eyes narrowed. You would defy your own counsel. If I must. The room exploded in growls. The torches flickered as wolves half shifted from rage. My pulse hammered. I didn't understand why he was doing it, why he'd risk himself for me. And then it hit me. He didn't know either. He wasn't saving me because I was innocent. He was saving me because he couldn't not. The pull between us, whatever it was, ran deeper than either of us wanted to admit. The eldest slammed his staff down. Then the alpha's choice seals his fate. The girl lives for now, but her power will be bound by dawn. If it can't be contained. He looked at me, eyes cold. It will be extinguished. The guards grabbed my arms again. I didn't resist. I just met Aaron's gaze over my shoulder. He didn't speak, but his expression said everything. Trust me. I almost laughed. Trust him? The man who caged me, burned me, confused me? Not a chance. Still, part of me wanted to. They came for me before sunrise. The air was cold, heavy, and the forest outside the cabin was still. Even the wind didn't dare move. 2 guards stood at the door waiting. Behind them, a woman I hadn't seen before, tall, draped in grey, her silver eyes unnerving. A witch. I didn't have to ask. The smell of magic clung to her like frost. Get up, she said. Her voice was smooth and sharp at once. It's time. I didn't ask time for what. I already knew. They marched me into the heart of the forest, to a stone clearing where the council waited. The same circle, the same faces, except now there were markings scorched into the ground runes that glowed faintly blue. Aaron stood at the edge of it, arms folded, his jaw tight. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Bring her to the centre, the witch ordered. I didn't resist as they pushed me forward, though my pulse thundered. The air inside that circle felt heavy, thick, like the ground itself wanted me gone. Let it begin, the eldest wolf said. The witch raised her hands, whispering words that made the room's pulse brighter. The glow crawled up my legs, cold and sharp, wrapping around me like invisible chains. I gasped. It felt like being submerged in ice. What are you doing? I demanded. Binding what you cannot control, she said simply. I tried to move, couldn't. My arms locked to my sides. The cold seeped deeper, crawling toward my chest. Then the pain hit. It started in my palms, the same place the fire was born, and spread fast, burning and freezing at the same time. My knees buckled. I heard someone shout, maybe Aaron, but the witch didn't stop. You will not harm again, she chanted. Your flame will be contained, your curse silenced. Curse. That word snapped something in me. This wasn't protection, it was punishment. My breath came ragged now. The glow turned red, fighting the blue. Sparks hissed from my skin. The witch's eyes widened. No! Too late. The power surged out at me like an explosion. The circle shattered, runes cracking, stones splitting. The force threw the guards backward, one slammed into a tree, another hit the ground hard. The witch screamed as flames licked up her arms. She stumbled, tried to smother them with magic, but the fire wasn't obeying her. It was mine. I could hear the council shouting, but it was all drowned by the roar in my ears. The sound of my own heartbeat turned molten. Then a hand grabbed my arm. Aaron! Enough! He shouted. His grip was firm, his eyes blazing gold. You'll kill them! Maybe they deserve it! I screamed back. The fire flared higher, curling around us both. He didn't let go. Sera! Look at me! I tried, but my vision was fading, everything burning too bright. "Listen to me," he said again, closer now, voice breaking through the chaos. "You're stronger than this. You control it. It doesn't control you." But the fire only roared higher, defying him, defying everything. It spiraled around us, red and gold and furious, licking up the shattered stones, crawling toward the trees. I couldn't stop it. I didn't want to. Aaron cursed under his breath and stepped closer until the flames brushed his skin. His eyes were wild, glowing bright gold. "Sera!" Then he did something I never expected. He grabbed my face, rough and desperate, and kissed me. For a heartbeat, everything froze. My eyes went wide, the world went silent, and the fire stilled. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't meant to be, but something inside me cracked open anyway. The heat that had been raging out of me faltered, twisted, turned inward. My breath hitched against his lips, shock flooding through me. And just like that, the flames began to die. Something in his voice, steady, desperate, familiar, cut through the rage. My breath caught. And slowly, painfully, I forced my hands down. The fire hesitated, then collapsed inward, vanishing like smoke swallowed by the dawn. Silence. The witch lay unconscious. The council was gone. The ground was scorched black. And I was shaking. Aaron's hand still held my arm. His skin was red from burns, but he didn't even flinch. I looked at him, voice trembling. "They were going to kill me." "I know." "You let them try." He didn't answer, just stared at me, something fierce and hollow in his eyes. "Next time," I said softly, stepping back, "I won't stop." He nodded once. "I know that too."
The fire was gone, but she was still burning in my head. I stood there long after Sera walked away, watching the smoke curl into the dawn sky. My skin still stung where the flames had kissed me, but none of it compared to the ache inside my chest. I kissed her. God help me, I fucking kissed her. And for a second, just one fucking second, everything stopped. The fire, her rage, the world. It was like the universe held its breath, waiting to see what we'd become after. She didn't know what she was doing to me. Maybe she never would. I turned toward the witch's body, still breathing faintly, the ground around her blackened to ash. The council would demand answers. They'd call it treason, protecting a human who could wipe out half my pack. She's not just human. I'd known it the moment she touched me that first night. There was something old in her blood, something that sang in ways no mortal should. And I knew exactly what it was. The secret that could break every truce ever made between our kind. I'd tried to bury it, to pretend she was just some fragile mortal caught in the wrong war. But that power, that wasn't witchcraft. It wasn't human. It was celestial. A bloodline that shouldn't even exist anymore. I ran a hand through my hair and exhaled, staring at my burned palms. They were healing already, slowly. Slower than they should. Her power had done something to me too. I could feel it, thrumming in my veins like a second heartbeat. When I closed my eyes, I saw her face again. Those wide, stunned brown eyes right before I kissed her. I hadn't planned it. I just needed her to stop before she destroyed everything. Before she destroyed herself. And maybe because part of me wanted to know what she tasted like. That thought alone made me curse under my breath. Alphas don't lose control, not for humans, not for enemies. I turned as footsteps approached behind me. My beta Cole. His expression was grim. "You kissed her." I stopped her. He crossed his arms. "You kissed her." I shot him a look sharp enough to cut stone, but he didn't flinch. He'd known me since I was a boy. My glare didn't scare him anymore. "You know what this means, Aaron," Cole said quietly. "If the council finds out, they won't. She's dangerous. So am I. He hesitated, then nodded once. What are you going to do with her? I looked toward the cabin where I'd locked her again. The faint scent of smoke still clung to the air. Keep her alive, I said. Why? Because I couldn't lose her. Because she was the key to something bigger than both of us. Because every instinct in me screamed that killing her would destroy the balance of everything. But I couldn't say any of that aloud. So I just said, because she's mine to deal with. Cole gave me a look that was half pity, half warning. You're already in too deep, Alpha. Maybe I was. Maybe I'd been since the first time she looked at me with hate in her eyes and fire in her soul.
The next morning wasn't quiet. It was chaos. Voices thundered through the halls of the Dark Moon stronghold. Every wolf that had survived the night was demanding the same thing, my death. I sat in the corner of the cabin, wrists still raw from where they tied me again. My head throbbed, my body ached. But what hurt more was the memory of his lips on mine. Aaron. The Alpha who had locked me up, burned my world, kissed me like I was both his salvation and his destruction. I should have hated him even more, but every time I tried to summon the rage, something else got in the way, something warm and confusing that made me furious at myself. The door burst open. Cole stepped in first, eyes cold. Behind him came Aaron, tall, broad, every inch the Alpha, his expression unreadable. The room went tense, air heavy with the smell of ash and fear. "The council's waiting," Cole said stiffly. "They want her brought before them." Aaron's jaw flexed. They'll have her. He walked toward me, and even though I wanted to glare, my throat tightened. His eyes weren't the sharp green they usually were. They were darker, sadder. "Get up," he said. I did, slowly, refusing to look small, even with my hands bound. "What's this? Another trial before your wolves decide how to kill me this time?" He didn't answer, just grabbed my arm and led me out. The hallway was crowded wolves, guards, elders. Their snarls filled the air as we passed. Monster, witch, fire-born freak. I tried to ignore them, but one word stood out, spat like venom. Human. Aaron's grip tightened. His anger rolled off him in waves, though his face stayed stone. We reached the council chamber, a huge hall carved into the mountain, lit by torches and the grey light of dawn filtering through stone slits. The council sat in a half-circle. Elder Rowan, her voice sharp as a whip, pointed at me. "She nearly burned this entire valley. Her power is unnatural, she's not human, and she cannot be allowed to live." "She's my prisoner," Aaron said evenly. "She's your weakness." Murmurs rippled through the wolves. The elders began to shout over one another, execution, exile, silver fire, every word cutting closer. Aaron stood still, jaw tight, eyes flicking once toward me, and then, suddenly, he spoke his voice loud, clear, and final. "She's not my prisoner." The room fell silent. Aaron turned to face the council. "She's my mate." The words hit like thunder. My breath stopped, my heart stuttered. "What?" Elder Rowan hissed. "That's impossible. She's human." "Then the moon goddess made a mistake," Aaron said, stepping closer to me, his voice steady but low with danger. "Because when I touched her, when she nearly burned me alive, the bond formed, and I won't deny it." Whispers exploded, growls, shock, fury. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. "Mate? What the heck does he mean by that?" Aaron turned to me, his gaze softer now. "You're coming with me." He led me out before anyone could protest. The crowd parted like the sea, half in awe, half in rage. When the heavy doors to his quarters slammed behind us, I finally found my voice. "You had no right to do that," I said, shoving his chest. "You can't just claim me in front of everyone like I'm some kind of shield." He didn't flinch. "I just saved your life." "By lying." "It's not a lie." I stopped breathing. He stepped closer, his scent wrapping around me, pine and smoke and rain. "You think I'd risk everything for a lie?" he asked quietly. I wanted to scream at him, to deny it, but my pulse betrayed me. That heat, the same one from the fire, sparked faintly in my chest again. "Why?" I whispered. "Why would you do this?" His eyes softened. "Because they would have killed you. And because—" He paused, jaw tightening. "Because I feel it too." Silence stretched between us, heavy and alive. He turned away first, pacing to the window. "You'll stay here now. No more cages, no more chains. But you don't leave this room. Not until I figure out how to keep you safe." I stared at him, torn between fury and something that felt far more dangerous. For the first time since I'd met him, I wasn't sure which of us was the real enemy anymore. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces of those wolves in the council room, the fury, the disbelief, and right in the middle of it all, him. Aaron, the man who once hunted me, the man who now called me mate. The word still didn't make sense. It clung to me like smoke, thick, heavy, impossible to shake. I sat at the edge of the bed he'd told me to use, staring at the door like it was my only way out. It wasn't locked, but it didn't have to be. 2 guards stood outside, and I had nowhere to run. Not this time. Aaron had left after bringing me here, silent as stone, but his scent lingered, that sharp pine and smoke that reminded me too much of everything I wanted to forget. When he finally came back, it was near dawn. His shirt was torn, stained with dirt and blood that wasn't his. He looked like someone who'd fought half the world and was still ready to fight the other half. "Couldn't stay away from the chaos for long?" I asked, my voice sharper than I felt. He didn't answer, just closed the door quietly behind him and leaned against it. The silence between us was deafening. "They don't believe you," I said finally. "The whole pack thinks you've lost your mind." "Let them," he said. I frowned. "You just ruined your reputation. To keep you alive." The words hit harder than I expected. I opened my mouth, closed it again, and looked away. "You could have just lied. Said I was useful, dangerous, something." He moved closer, slow enough that I had time to decide whether I'd flinch or not. I didn't. His voice softened. "I don't lie about things like this." Something in his tone made my heart stumble. I hated that sound in his voice, the kind that made me feel seen, even when I didn't want to be. He walked past me, grabbed a cloth from the wardrobe, and started wiping blood from his hands. "You should eat," he said without looking up. "You've barely touched anything since yesterday." I wasn't exactly hungry after almost being executed. That earned me a faint twitch of his mouth, not quite a smile, more like something remembering how to be one. I studied him, the lines of his shoulders, the quiet exhaustion in his posture. He wasn't the same alpha who'd thrown me in a cage days ago. There was something different now, something heavier. I didn't know what it was, guilt, maybe, or something worse. Finally I spoke, my voice low. "Why did you really claim me?" He froze, just for a heartbeat. Then he looked at me, eyes unreadable. "Because if I hadn't, they would have killed you, and I couldn't let that happen." "That's not an answer." He didn't reply. And that silence told me everything. I rose slowly, stepping closer. "You know very much how I hate you, Aaron. You don't even know what I am. You don't know what you've just tied yourself to." His gaze hardened, but he didn't back away. "Maybe not, but I know what you're not. You're not my enemy anymore." The words hung between us, heavy, fragile, dangerous. Something inside me shifted just slightly, like a flame catching on the edge of kindling. And the more I looked at him, in those green eyes, I didn't see the monster who'd destroyed my life. I saw the man who'd risked his life to save mine. And that terrified me more than anything else.
The council hadn't slept. Neither had I. The elders whispered in the shadows, plotting, furious, afraid. The pack was restless. My claim had shaken every law written under the moon's light. And at the center of it all, her, Sera, my mate, my enemy. I left her in my room, guarded, safe at least for now, while I went to the lower tunnels beneath the stronghold. There the witch who survived the fire was chained to the stone, her wrists bound with silver and wolfsbane. Her name was Mirelle, one of the oldest in the coven. She'd once served the pack as an advisor before she turned against us. She laughed when she saw me. "The mighty Alpha," she hissed, her voice raw, tainted by fire. I crouched down in front of her. "Tell me what you know about the girl." Mirelle's smile was thin and bloody. "You mean the one who nearly burned your forest to ash? The one you called mate?" My hand shot out, gripping her chin, forcing her to meet my eyes. "Don't test me, witch." She winced, but didn't back down. "You should have killed her when you had the chance. That girl carries the same blood that ended her mother's life." My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" Her gaze gleamed with something between pity and madness. "You really don't know, do you? Her mother wasn't killed by your wolves. She was killed because of what she was and what she birthed." "Speak clearly," I growled. "She was a celestial," Mirelle whispered. "One of the last. A human born with the power of the stars of creation and destruction. Your kind hunted them centuries ago, not because they were evil, but because they could end you." The words hit like claws to the gut. "She hid her power well," the witch continued. "Lived quietly among humans. But power like that doesn't stay silent. It calls to everything dark and hungry in this world. Rogues found her first. They were sent by a rival pack, not yours. When they couldn't find the child, they tore her apart trying. I froze. The image of Sera's mother's broken body came back in a rush the night I found it years ago, while tracking rogue activity near the border. I had buried her myself, never knowing who she was. "She was protecting her daughter," Mirelle said softly. "That girl's power is the same. Fire from the sky, the kind that doesn't die, it devours." I let go of her, stepping back as the truth sank in. Sera's fire, her rage, her strength, it all made sense. "She doesn't know," I muttered. "Of course she doesn't," Mirelle crooned. "Her mother hid it from her, hoping the fire would stay asleep. But now it's awake and bound to you. You feel it, don't you?" I said nothing. Because she was right. Every time Sera's power flared, I felt it in my blood, burning, twisting, binding. The bond between us wasn't just a mate link. It was something older, something cosmic. "If she loses control again," Mirelle said, smirking, "she'll burn your entire world to cinders." I turned away, voice low. "Then I'll just have to make sure she never does." "By loving her," she sneered, "or by caging her?" I stopped at the doorway. "By teaching her what no one taught her mother, how to survive what she is." Then I left her there, screaming curses that echoed down the stone halls. Outside, the dawn was bleeding gold over the mountains. The air was cold and sharp. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of her fire. I was afraid of what would happen if I couldn't protect her from it. Or by caging her. I stopped at the doorway. By teaching her what no one taught her mother, how to survive what she is. Then I left her there, screaming curses that echoed down the stone halls. Outside, the dawn was bleeding gold over the mountains. The air was cold and sharp. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of her fire. I was afraid of what would happen if I couldn't protect her from it.
When Aaron walked back into the room, I knew something had changed. And he didn't speak right away, just stood there for a moment, watching me like he was memorizing something he wasn't sure he'd ever see again. His clothes were still streaked with dirt, his jaw tight. But it wasn't anger I saw in him now. It was regret, pity, sorrow, whatever. "What?" I said, sitting up on the bed. "You look like you've seen a ghost." He didn't smile, didn't even try. Instead, he closed the door behind him and leaned against it like it was the only thing keeping him standing. "There's something you need to know." My stomach turned.
If this is another lecture about behaving or staying quiet, It's about your mother. The world tilted. I froze, every breath in my lungs turning sharp. "What about her?" He hesitated, as if searching for the right way to break me. "She wasn't killed by my pack." The words hit like thunder. I stared at him. "You're lying." "I'm not." His voice stayed calm, steady, but I could hear the weight in it. "The rogues who attacked your town, they weren't mine. They were hired, sent by another pack that's been hunting your kind for decades." "My kind?" My voice cracked. "I'm human." He stepped closer, slow, cautious, as if I might shatter. "You're not just human, Sera. You never were." My pulse roared in my ears. Don't do this." "I met the witch who survived the fire," he said, cutting through me like a blade. "She told me the truth. Your mother was one of the last Celestials, and you inherited what she was trying to protect." My knees weakened, and I sat down before I could stop myself. "No, that's... Why do you think your power only came out in fire and fury?" His voice softened. "You weren't cursed. You were born with it. Fire from the sky, that's what the old ones used to call it." Memories rushed in the heat in my hands, the light that came from nowhere, the way Aaron's voice always seemed to reach me through it. All the things that never made sense suddenly did. Tears stung my eyes. "She never told me." "She was trying to keep you safe," he said quietly. "From them. From us. From everyone who would have used you or killed you for what you are." I pressed my shaking hands to my face. "And she died because of me." "No." He was beside me now, kneeling. "She died protecting you. There's a difference." His hand brushed mine, tentative, like he wasn't sure he had the right. But when our skin met, warmth flooded through me, not the burning kind, not the fire that destroyed. It was steady, grounding. I looked at him, tears streaking my face. "All this time I thought you were the bastard who took her away from me." His eyes met mine, green and raw. "I am a monster, Sera, just not the one who killed your mother." The silence that followed was thick and fragile. For the first time since I'd been dragged into this world, the hate in my chest cracked open. And under it was something terrifyingly human. Aaron reached up, his thumb brushing away one of my tears. "I never wanted this bond," he admitted, "but the thought of losing you..." He shook his head. "It terrifies me more than anything else ever has." I didn't think, I just moved. My fingers caught the front of his shirt, pulling him closer until our foreheads touched. "I should hate you," I whispered. "You do. Not enough." He froze, and then his lips found mine. This kiss wasn't desperate like the one before. It wasn't about control or fear. It was slow, deep, a surrender neither of us could take back. His hands cupped my face, gentle they used to be rough, and every wall I'd built around myself started to crumble. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, I didn't step away. For once, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like the beginning of something dangerous and real. The mark still burned not painfully, but like a whisper of heat that refused to fade. Aaron's teeth had sunk into the curve of my neck just before dawn, his breath hot against my skin as the bond sealed between us. The entire room had gone silent afterward. The pack, the council,
all watching their alpha mark the girl they call a curse. Some bowed their heads, some turned away, and some, the bravest few, smiled, small, hesitant, like they were testing the idea of accepting me. It was strange, walking through the halls after that. Conversations hushed when I passed. Eyes followed me, not all cruel this time, but not friendly either. They were learning to live with what I was, and I was learning painfully to live with them. Aaron didn't keep me in the cabin anymore. He moved me into his room, though half the time I ended up sleeping on the couch near the balcony when the nightmares came. He never forced me to stay. He just stayed near. Sometimes, when I woke in the middle of the night, I'd see him sitting in the armchair by the window, eyes half closed, guarding me even in silence. And during the days, we trained. Fire training, they called it, though half the time it looked more like destruction. The first day I burned 3 trees and nearly set the practice field ablaze. The next, I melted Aaron's blade clean in half. He didn't yell, didn't even flinch. He'd just wipe the ash from his arm and say, "Again." Controlling the fire wasn't like controlling anger. It was like learning to breathe all over again, to let it exist without letting it consume. Some days it listened, others it didn't. But every time I thought I'd lose it again, his voice would reach me calm, low, patient. "You control it. It doesn't control you." And slowly, painfully, I started to believe him. Weeks later, when the smoke of burned leaves no longer filled my lungs, I asked him for one thing: to go home. He didn't ask why. He just nodded. We rode out early, the forest still wet with dawn. The wind was sharp, carrying the scent of pine and old memories. When we reached the clearing where my mother was buried, the world felt still, like even nature knew to keep quiet. Her grave was simple, a stone, half covered in moss, wildflowers tangled around the base. I knelt down, brushing away the leaves, fingers trembling as I traced her name. "Hey, Mum," I whispered, smiling even as my throat tightened. "It's been a while." For a long moment, I didn't speak. Just let the silence stretch between us like it used to when she hummed while cooking, when I sat at the table pretending to read. Then I laughed quietly, wiping at my face. "You wouldn't believe what's happened. The man I hated with all my being turns out he was innocent. Can you imagine?" I glanced back over my shoulder. Aaron stood a little ways off, hands in his pockets, head tilted like he didn't know whether to come closer or give me space. His expression was unreadable, that same stoic calm that somehow made me feel safe. Turning back to the grave, I sighed softly. "It's been hard, Mum. So lonely sometimes. I didn't even know what I was. I didn't know you were like me." The tears came then, uninvited, hot and quiet. "I wish you'd told me. I wish I could have said goodbye." My hands clenched in the dirt. "But it's getting better," I whispered. "Since he marked me, we're not exactly close yet, but it's something. I can feel it. We're learning each other. Maybe one day it won't hurt so much to look at him." The words broke on a sob. I bowed my head, shoulders shaking. "I miss you," I said softly. "So much. But you don't have to worry anymore. I can protect myself now." I turned again, finding Aaron's gaze still fixed on me, steady, silent, as if he'd been guarding even this moment. A small, broken laugh escaped me. "He doesn't even know how to smile," I murmured, brushing the tears from my cheeks. "But he'll protect me. I know he will. Always will."
When your heart feels like it's fading and your faith begins to drown, when the world keeps taking and there's no strength left to be found, I know the taste of losing. I've walked that road alone, but if you reach for me tonight, I'll guide you home. Let me be the one who The pain